How are these interviews usually? What do they ask? What did you guys answer in these
I'll
interviews?
start with Wharton. It's a bit of a non-traditional one. We do a team-based discussion, right? So it's basically the equivalent of a group discussion that Indian students may be familiar with. So it's like a 30 to 35 minute conversation that you would be expected to have, of which 20 to 25 minutes is a group discussion with a team of five to six other people who are also applying to Wharton, right? So very similar profile, who would essentially be either your future classmates or people you're competing with. So you'd be essentially given a prompt which is announced usually like a month or two in advance. So you know exactly what's going to be asked. So you have the luxury of time to do the right research, to bring the right perspectives. Like in my year, for example, the prompt was, hey, design a global immersion program. So earlier I'd mentioned that Wharton does these international programs, and what is the best way to design one was like the question, right? And the goal of this team-based discussion is not to say, hey, I've done the research, I feel this is the perfect country, my answer is correct. If that is not the goal. In fact, that will sort of give you negative marks. The goal of this particular interview is to prove that you can harmoniously work with a team that you've not met before. So the goal of this is sort of to say, okay, everyone's broad perspectives, right? In Wharton's interview, the first 5 minutes, each person gets a 1 minute pitch, right? So in my case, I would say, hey, I think we should go to Singapore. I feel it's relevant for ABC reasons. Here are the people that we can meet. Here is the kind of companies that we can sort of, get involved with. And here is a couple of cultural things that we can sort of immerse ourselves in. And everyone will sort of share a similar sort of rationale. And then it's an open forum, right? It's not moderated at all. Like the admissions person, which can either be an admissions officer or a second year student who's an admission fellow, I think similar to your role in Stanford, they will just sort of set the ball rolling, and then they'll just switch off their video, and then it's like it was virtual, so it was like the equivalent of a closed room, and it's completely there. If the whole team is able to work harmoniously and get to a consensus and sort of deliver a very coherent pitch, then most people in that group will largely get in, right? Even if like someone had done, let's say, 60% of the speaking, but someone had done 10% of the speaking, but had great ideas and sort of helped move the whole team around, that is viewed as a success. There may also be situations where the whole team did not gel as appropriately, but they were able to achieve that outcome of, hey, here is the final answer. Then maybe 2 or 3 people from that group may go ahead, right? Because their sort of qualities exhibited were not sort of perfect. But then there may also be groups where you won't be able to, let's say, get to an answer because the group is just not gelling at all. It's completely hostile, not really cooperative. Then it's very likely that even if there is an extremely stellar candidate, the whole group is rejected, right? So the name of the game is just working well with others. So after that sort of group discussion's over, then you enter a 10-minute conversation one-on-one with the admissions officer, where they probably where they're probably going to ask you just one question: why do you want to do an MBA, and why is Wharton that college, right? That conversation is open-ended, can take anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes. So that was
This would be similar to what you wrote in your essay answer.
Yeah, it'll be similar, but then much more personal, much more detailed. It's much more about convictions and objectives and all of that. So it's similar to what you were saying, right? It's a mix of fact checking, but also sort of understanding convictions a lot better.
Got it. Pretty interesting. Similar to both of you as well at Harvard?
No. I think Wharton has a very different process, and I think each college has a very different process. Yeah, Harvard's interview is 30 minutes, and it's sort of like a rapid fire interview. So basically you get asked almost 25 questions in 30 minutes. So you have to quickly answer all of those questions. 2 parts to it. So first 15 minutes typically is a mock case, which is how the classes are conducted in HBS. So you have to talk about one particular topic that you have worked on. And then the interviewer keeps asking multiple follow-up questions on that. So for me, the first question was, just tell me about what have you worked on recently. That's where we started. I talked about some IPO preparation that we're doing for a portfolio company, and then the interview had multiple questions on why is the company doing an IPO, how will it help it, what are the processes. So basically to understand, can you speak about what you're doing, can you participate in class discussions, can you contribute something extra to the class. So that is first 15 minutes. Second 15 minutes is the thing that we are talking about, that they then start fact checking what you actually written in the essay. So whatever you have written in the essay, they will ask second level questions on it. What happened? Who were you working with? what did you actually work on when all of these things happened. So for me, it was in my essay I had written whatever I worked on at Blackstone with the portfolio company. Then they talked about the non-profit grant which I had raised. Then eventually I had also mentioned my extracurricular activities. So they talked about singing, dancing. How will you use that in HPS? So it was a very far. The last 10 minutes or so are can go anywhere depending on where you want to take it. But again, it's more about checking what you have written, making sure that you're not just inventing things out of thin air, and giving it credibility. As I was saying, I think by interview time, HBS interviewers, selectors have made up their mind that you are the good candidate, you can fit in class. They are just doing a second check that you will do good or no. And the conversion rate after the interview is almost 50%.
Okay.
So if there 2,000 people who have gotten shortlisted for interview, 1,000 will make it to the class.
Okay, got it. So in Harvard, it's 1,000 people in one batch.
One batch is 1,000.
Stanford, it's 400 you mentioned.
400.
And what is it in Wharton?
Around 850.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Fair. So your interview is done 25 to 30 minutes, only
25
one
to 30 minutes. Post that, you have to do a post-interview reflection within 24 hours, which is a one-page essay of what was asked, what are the reflections from that interview. So you send that within 24 hours and that's it.
So who takes this interview?
Yeah, I was just going to ask that.
The different admission consultants. So for me, it was a lady called Eileen.
But from the team?
From the Harvard team, yes.
HBS.
This is admissions Harvard team. This is different from, I think, Stanford.
Correct.
But Harvard has a very set recruiters.
Okay.
For India, for a very long time, there was just one single person who used to come every year. But during our time, it was COVID, so things changed. So. And earlier, everything used to be in person. I don't know if it's still now back in person, but for us, it was all on VC.
Got it.
Yeah. There were 1 or 2 people who are dedicated towards India. So you can also talk to seniors and understand what kind of questions they ask, what are they looking for.
Some schools also send in their alums to conduct interviews.
Yeah. Stanford.
That's
right?
Stanford.
Okay.
Yeah. So Stanford interviews are, it's only alum driven. It is alums who are 5 years out of the school and who want, you can sign up to then be a part of the admissions process. Same thing, it's for every open seat, there are two interviews that, in sense there's 2:1 ratio basically. They'll interview 2 people for 1 open seat kind of stuff. So 50% will get in after the interview. So you're really down to that, your probabilities at the interview stage. It's an hour-long, very conversational style. Usually they'll try to match you with someone from your industry. So you get the name, you get the info about them beforehand, a couple of days, because you got to then get in touch with them on your own to set up a time that works for both of you all. And if there's any conflict, so in my case there was actually a conflict. The first person that they put in was a partner in another VC firm who had passed on our Series A, and so I said, this is I know how that's gonna go. So can't reject me twice now in my life. So anyway, and then they matched with someone else. Very conversational style. It's an alum. What I think at Stanford, what they were really looking out for was cultural fit, because these people 5 years out, they know what the school's like, and they're trying to then find people who fit with that school spirit or the school culture. I remember distinctly my first question. This person straight up asked me and behavioral, which is tell me a time when -- which was all reflective back on your tell me a time when whatever, because they're going to really set the stage where you're going to answer. Okay, this is an example of that, and then the rest of the interview they're just going to deep dive into more facets of that same piece that you only set it up. So I was shocking because I prepared a lot for this interview, and then in my case the question was, tell me a time when you went beyond. And then that's it. She stopped there. I'm like, wait, is this is there more to, no, that's it. I'm like, what is it? Do you mean personally? Do you mean professionally? She's like, no, that's it. So and then you have to give me a minute, let me pen some thoughts down, and then you just go from there. And I try to come up with something from my past that speaks to that. And then this person just asks more and more questions to that as well. And then at the end you get some time to ask them, which you should take that time to ask them some questions. But that's basically it's very conversational style. You don't know how it's going to be. I was very again Zoom based, and I was very they didn't have much facial reactions on her, and so I didn't know what to get out of that. You don't know what you're going to get at the end of that.
Yeah, they are very good at keeping a poker face. I don't know about alums, but the admission consultants, they do it day in, day out.
Yeah, professional. Right?
Yeah, they just don't give anything away from their face.
Okay.
Are you doing good? Are you doing bad? Nothing.
Yeah, very nerve-wracking.
Got it.
But yeah, that's how it went.
Right. Cool. And
Yeah, but I've heard, I think some schools have very weird interviews.
Yeah.
I think
Like-
Columbia, Wharton has second year students taking the interviews.
Second
Not
year
Wharton.
students.
It's
Wharton also has admissions fellows, right? So I was
It's
saying
second
that-
year students
yeah.
basically taking the
So
interviews.
it's a
right?
mix of some. It can be people from the admissions office,
Okay.
or it can be final years in the Wharton program who are just about to pass out. So they undergo training. They become what is called an admissions fellow.
Hmm.
They sort of get coached by the admissions office as to how to behave, what to expect, what to look for, and then they are the ones who are essentially running it. That's because besides the 5 to 10 minutes that they actually talk to you one-on-one, the 30 minutes they're just facilitating like a group discussion. They just have to just say, hey guys, here is what you're going to talk about. You all have 1 minute each, now go. And then their role is done for that overall thing. And then they're just making notes and just observing behaviors and whatnot.
Right.
One key thing, by the way, I don't know what about your schools, but one thing is that at least Stanford people, they don't get anything from your application material other than your resume. Or you're supposed to in fact send them your resume ahead of time, but that's all that they're going on. They don't know, okay, what did you write? Apne essay mein kya likha tha? Nothing. So those two, at least in our case, in Stanford's case. No,
I think that was
don't.
similar for Wharton as well.
No, I think for us, they get everything.
Oh, they get
that you have
everything.
submitted.
Yeah, because I think it's admissions
Correct.
team,
Correct,
so
correct.
Yeah.
they'll have to.
So why,
Yeah,
that matters, right? It makes a difference on how
Yeah.
you're going to show up at that interview, because you know what you can contextually think that what does this person know about you or doesn't know about
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
Right. If you learned something new from this video, do share it with your friends and subscribe to this channel so that we can bring you the best content possible. Also, if you want to watch this entire episode, click on the link in the description box and you can go to Kushal Lodha YouTube channel and watch the entire podcast episode. Thank you so much for watching this and have an amazing day.